Welcome back to the Sailing Doodles podcast. Really excited to have my guest today. She is a crew member for Sailing Doodles, really amazing person, and the owner of her own show, Taylor's Travels on YouTube. It is none other than Taylor Francis. So, welcome to the Sailing Doodles podcast, where we talk to all sorts of people in the sailing and boating community. It's available wherever you get your audio podcasts and on YouTube. If you'd like to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/sailingdoodles. All right, and we're live. Welcome. Oh, you didn't bring your coffee with you. I was going to cheers you a bit. We can do some more.
I've got my water.
All right,
Cheers.
well, good to have you aboard. How are you?
Good. It's awesome to be back. It's definitely different.
Yeah.
Being on a powerboat for sure, but it's been a great experience so far.
So what? So far we've only done really one night out on the water. What's your thoughts on doing a power yacht so far?
Well, I think definitely leaving the dock, like the spatial awareness of the boat, I think is a lot different. Like I feel like it's hard to maneuver this. Like especially, like you do a great job.
Thank you.
You totally have got it down, but like for me, I feel like I would have a hard time like docking this thing, but as far as enjoying it as a passenger, I think that it's very comfortable, and obviously it goes a lot faster.
Yeah.
And you get where you're going quicker, and it feels more home-like, I think. Like out here at anchor, it's so comfortable.
Well, I think that's what I've said so far. Like I've said on the podcast several times, is that this is more like a house that is a boat, whereas a sailboat is a boat that is a house.
Yes. Good point.
So,
Yeah.
And it is a little more hair-raising getting off the dock, especially there in Puerto Rey and most places in the Caribbean, because they have big concrete docks.
Exactly.
So they're like not forgiving at all. And so if you mess that up, I mean, it's, they take a big chunk out. Plus, yesterday it was pretty windy and it was blowing us right on to the dock. So it was kind of hard to get off the dock.
That's always fun.
And it's also one of those things like, there's so much power on this boat. Like I'm just going into gear on that. I'm not like giving
just
it
barely.
Yeah. And so I'll just bump it like into gear and then take it off because at idle this thing will do 6 knots.
Yeah.
So,
and so it's nice that you have the controls like upstairs as well as on the stern. I think that definitely helps a lot.
Yeah. But what about? So I mean, it was nice coming over here. We did 10 knots the whole way, and then the last 30 minutes we bumped it up to 15 knots just to, occasionally use that as an excuse to get some gas. But it uses so much fuel when you do that. So
well, and it was kind of just interesting, like going out the back and looking at the wake. And we were talking about it last night. I'm like, I totally want to try wakeboarding or something in the wake. On this big of a boat, it's not that flexible or feasible.
I gotta adjust your camera here. Sorry, I had the levels off there too much. Sorry, excuse me, guys. But anyway, there we go. Okay, you're good now.
And
we could try eventually do wakeboarding on it.
Don't know how well it would go.
We need really calm conditions, I think.
And the thing would be is if because obviously the first couple times that you do it, usually you'll fall once or twice. It's the going around and picking the person up.
Yeah,
that's the pain in the butt.
I don't know.
This big of a
yacht. And it's a lot of fuel to use too. So I don't know. Maybe we'll try it once. We'll just try it once just to try.
Say that I did it.
But hopefully getting the new high field dinghy pretty soon in the next couple weeks. I hope, and that'll have a 40 horsepower Yamaha. Tohatsu. That's what it's gonna have. And guys, if I ever say like this is, I always do this. Like I will. If I'm trying to say motor, like a dinghy motor, and I'll say, it's a 15 horse Yanmar, right?
Because it's so standard for boat engines.
But everybody's like, there's no Yanmar, whatever. And I'm like, dude, I meant to say Yamaha. I'm sorry. It was just a misspeak. And people put that in the comments. And I'm just like, sorry, guys.
In your defense, that is quite a standard boat engine.
Sure.
All things boat, whether it's, sailboats are usually equipped with Yanmars and power boats are as well. So I get where you're coming from on that.
Well, we got to set it up for a second here, but you've got some engine issues. We'll get back to that in a second. But I want to talk to you about
that.
I want to talk to you about your channel first, though.
Okay.
So Taylor's Travels, if you haven't checked it out, she started it about a year ago, kind of doing some small stuff on the boat here. Yeah. You're up to almost 150,000 subscribers.
Just about, actually. I'd have to look. I think I'm very, very close. But
cool. That's awesome. Hang on, let me move that just a touch. Okay, sorry. I'm still kind of dialing in the fine tuning of this stuff, but so that's awesome. And so now you're a full-time YouTuber.
Yeah.
How's that feel?
It's amazing. I definitely feel very lucky and, very fortunate to have had such a great start with you through that. And that really helped me to be able to make it a full-time job. Because I think a lot of people work really, really hard from the ground up and don't even get to make it their full-time job. They've got to, do it in other ways. But a lot of people think that it's like a vacation, like a permanent vacation.
It's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of work. Yeah.
It definitely is not.
So like you're talking, it is a full-time job. And that's kind of one of the reasons I have got the podcast set up like I've got here is because like this requires very little editing or almost none. I mean, I basically put the text on here and then clean up the audio a little. And then there you go. I'm getting better at it. Sorry, the podcast, they started off pretty poor, but there you go. Because it is a lot of work. I mean, how long does it take you to edit a video?
That I still haven't like nailed that down because I'm not paying attention to how much time I'm spending on it, and I'm not the kind of person who will sit down and edit a video start to finish. I usually do I can only focus for like 3 or 4 hours at a time, and then I take a break and then I'll go back to it. But I'd say on average probably like 15 hours at least.
Yeah. I'd say that was probably about right when I first started out, 15 hours. By now I could crank one out in 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, you've been doing it for 5 years.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And that's where that streamlined process comes in.
Well, I think that's a lot of it is the workflow. It's not just the creative part. It's like using shortcuts on the editing stuff to make things faster.
Yeah, and you definitely taught me a lot of beneficial stuff with that to help me streamline the process on the editing stuff. But even just aside from editing, like the whole YouTube thing is very much a full-time job. Like between you're filming every day of your life, you're also, planning content, but you're also marketing yourself. You're talking to brands. You're, doing other things that people don't necessarily see on camera.
Right.
And so on the camera's perspective, it might seem like it's, a vacation. And I'm not trying to complain. I'm saying it's an amazing, amazing job.
Oh, yeah.
I am so lucky. But I think a lot more work goes into it than people realize.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining either. It's a pretty amazing job.
Absolutely.
It's just, the best way I like to put it is like, if it looks like it's really easy, that's what you're going for. Exactly. And even though it's a lot of work.
Exactly.
So, anyway, so that's awesome. So you're up there. Now, tell us what you're doing on your channel right now.
Well, I just purchased my own sailboat back in November called Sea Gypsy. And so I have been sailing that. I bought it in New York, made it down to Florida. And so in the videos right now, I've actually got my mom sailing with me.
How was that with your mom on board?
An amazing experience. I know a lot of people kind of...
I might go crazy.
That's what a lot of people say.
I mean, I can handle it for like a week maybe with my mom on board. I love you, Mom. But, I mean, a week on board would be great.
Yeah.
But 6 weeks, I don't know if I could do that.
Especially in tight confines on a small sailboat. But no, she was an awesome crew member. I mean, she knows how to handle me and help me. And everybody has their downsides. And she knows how to handle mine. And I know how to handle hers. But she did fantastic. She definitely spewed over the side once.
Did she?
Yeah.
Did you film that?
I did, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Of course you need to. Has it come out yet? I don't know if I've seen it. Okay.
No. But that's actually the one that I'm editing right now.
I'm sure she's real excited about that. Yeah. Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Well, have you actually ever? I don't think I've seen you actually.
No.
I've seen you maybe get a little seasick.
Like my like seasickness is I get tired and like brain fog. Like I can't focus or like read or anything. The one time that I did throw up underway was because of the water.
Yeah, we got some bad water in Dominican Republic. I thought the girls, because it was just Phoenix with us, and they both started kind of getting queasy and throwing up. I'm like, you guys, come on, you got too much to drink last night?
He's razzing on us, saying that, oh, you're seasick. Oh, I never get seasick.
Yeah, and then like what we get to where we're going, the dock, and I'm like,
Well, and the weird thing was that I actually got worse. Like, I got way more sick once we stopped and we're at the dock, and that's why I was like, this is definitely not seasickness.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so the guys at so they gave you one too. Did I hook it up
Seagull?
on your, Did I hook it up on yours? Yeah. So Seagull, so the guys from Aquastar Distributors, just aquastardistributors.com, they sent us, and they sent me new stuff for this boat too. So now I've got the Seagull 4. It's really cool. It's I mean, comparatively speaking, I don't remember how much they are. They're like, I just don't remember how much they are. You can go to the website, aquastardistributors.com, but it filters the water down to 0.4 microns, which is like, it'll stop viruses and bacteria and stuff, so you can drink the water. So
essential thing to have on the boat.
Yeah, and I've also got it. So we got an ice maker outside, so I've got one on there too that he sent. So so they did send them to us. So I mean, it's kind of a sponsorship deal, but I really believe in them. So
absolutely, I think that's so important to have on the boat, and like even your water tanks can get like growth and stuff in them, and so having a clean drinking water without using lots of plastic bottles and stuff.
Well, that's what we've been doing here. Is I'm sorry if I keep messing up the little switching sometimes. Sorry if I get it wrong, but so we just get a 1 gallon water jug, a couple of them, and we just fill up a water. So we're not using plastic over and over.
Yeah.
So they just fill it up, put it in the refrigerator, and that way we have cold water. So it's always kind of cool. So now then. Speaking of boats, your boat is in Florida. What's going on with your boat?
Yeah, so I don't want to go into too much detail about that, just because I haven't talked about that on my channel at all.
So interesting stuff coming soon. Your patrons know already.
Yeah, they don't. Patrons get all the inside knowledge on everything that's going on, and so they know first. Right. They know what's going on.
If you would like, you become a patron of Taylor's Travels, and you can figure out what's going on with the boat.
Yeah. But basically, it has this first season of boat ownership has been like very testing, I think, and it was a really good experience in building my confidence and my skills, having challenges, I think, but. It gets a little defeating sometimes when it's like one wrong thing after another wrong thing. I mean, if you have a boat, you know how it goes. It's always something, right? And so this first season has taught me a lot, I think.
Well, there's always more stuff than you think on any boat, right? I mean, it's you buy a boat and you're like, oh man, this thing's almost ready to go. I just need this, this, and this, and then you start getting into it and you're like, whoa, shoot, that thing.
And that list turns to a mile
or
long.
stuff it already has, like you realize, well, that actually is kind of broken. Doesn't really work very well.
Or it's not the best, like like I think my inverter is like just dated, you know,
it's pretty old.
And so it technically works, but then there's always room for improvement.
Yeah,
on a lot of things.
Yep.
And it's been like, so I made it to Florida, and but I was taking the intercoastal for a lot of that, just because I left pretty late in the season to get down south.
We left
November from New York.
From New York. Okay, and then you made it to Beaufort by the end of November. Okay, and then
it's like this season was like all the like cold, bitter, like that rough sailing experience. And like not a lot of the bikini, tanning, sunshine.
Well, you're down here now.
That's exactly why I'm here, so I can have a little bit of a break and have some fun.
Right. So I mean, it has been great having you back on board so far. I mean, you're a very talented crew member.
Thank you.
So.
Yeah, it's been really nice to see you again. I was saying like the last time you were sailing with me on my boat. Was like 3 months ago or something.
Yeah,
so
I think it was 3 months ago.
It's interesting how things have changed, and
things have changed quite a bit. Yeah,
I really like this boat. It's very comfortable, and it's great cruising with you. You know, I always feel very safe and like at ease when you're, doing everything. I never question you or doubt you or anything like that. You always do a really good job.
Well, thank you. I always have great confidence in you whenever I ask you to do something or help out or whatever. I don't have to go, okay, she's going to hurt herself or do something because I know you'll do it. So
I try.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes you never know, but
like dropping knives on your feet. Yeah. So she did that. She dropped a knife on her foot. Well, it actually bounced off the table.
I was trying to make a special drink. My special banana smoothie drink.
Well, was there alcohol in it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's probably
Whenever something happens, alcohol is usually involved.
Right. So, but yeah, no, I mean, it's been great. I mean, I think that's kind of, we're a good team because, like, you know, we each, and by I say we each have our issues, probably mostly me, and you put up with that pretty well.
No, but then that's like what I was saying with my mom. So once you get to know somebody well enough, you know how to put up with the sides of them and just move on. Like, I know a lot of cruisers out there who are, you know, like they hold it against each other if you know something happens at anchor and you're yelling at each other, which it happens. I mean, again, if you have a boat, you know.
I'm sorry for what I said when I was docking the boat. I need to get that T-shirt.
Exactly, you do. Yeah. But it's like, if you can't move on from that and can't let that, you know, slide a little bit, you're not going to have a lot of fun.
Well, I think you know, a lot of it's like, especially, you know, if you're up on the bow or I'm up on the bow doing something, you're back here, whatever. You know, maybe get those, they're called marriage savers, like the little thing. Because, like, a lot of times you'd be like, don't yell at me. And I'm like, I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling so you can hear me.
Yes. No, I know. And that's all part of, again, the more time you get to know somebody and do this kind of lifestyle, the more understanding you are of that kind of stuff, right?
Sure. Absolutely. So what are your plans now? I mean, hurricane season is approaching. And I know you got some issues. She's a dirty Canadian, so she's got limited time in the U.S.
So that's been a big thing that I've been facing. So the original plan was to sail down to the Keys and then cross over to Mexico, go down, cruise around Belize. I have an uncle who lives in Belize, and I could have, you know, had somewhere to stay there with the boat and then make it to Guatemala, because the Rio Dulce is a hurricane hole.
Right.
And so that was the original plan. But just with things, the boat's just not in good enough shape to do a crossing like that. And so...
And kind of ran out of time, too.
And so now, the fact that the boat's not in good enough shape, I have to stay in the U.S., which wasn't my original plan. And now I'm out of time in the U.S., because Canadians get 6 months or 182 days in a 365-day period.
Right.
And so that is coming up very shortly.
Yeah. Well, and I know you had one thing that delayed you a long time was getting insurance. I know that was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people. I was actually talking to a yacht broker where I'm staying right now about that, and it's not even a matter of like experience. Like, I've been sailing for 11 years. It's the thing is that there's even people who are buying $500,000 boats. Like, they're buying $500,000 catamaran because they've watched your videos or something and they've been inspired and wanting to, you know, do that lifestyle. And so they go and buy the boat and they don't have any experience. Right. They've never sailed. They just want to, you know, live the lifestyle, and they can't get insurance, you know, no matter how. It's not even like you can pay more of a premium and pay more money. It's just, they won't even give you the option.
Right. I mean, they assume that, you know, go get the ASA ratings and all that, and that's good. That actually, you should have that. They give you a discount on your insurance, but they still want like boat ownership for, you know, X amount of years.
Exactly. Because like, so technically, I've been sailing for 11 years, but technically I've owned my boat for 3 years, my one in Canada. And even for some people that wasn't enough. Right. And that's like, give me a break, you know?
Well, and I think a lot of it too was like, you know, there were some issues on the survey that your insurance wanted to have cleaned up. And it was kind of like, well, I'd love to do that, but I got to get hauled out. And then the haul out yards were like...
So it was this catch-22 of being, you know, the one thing that was, in order to bind the coverage, was, I think it was the prop shaft seal, because that was in the survey that needed to be done. So then I get to the boatyard and I'm like, okay, I'm going to fix this. Let's fix it so I can get insurance. And the boatyard wants proof of insurance to get hauled out. Right. So it's like how do you win in that situation, you know? And I even actually ended up saying that to the broker, the insurance broker. I got so frustrated and I was like, so how does anybody get insurance within their first couple of years? And he's like, that's a good question.
Yeah, I'm not happy with... I mean, my current insurance company seems pretty nice, so I'm happy.
Yes, for this boat now? Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But anyway, it's a pain in the butt, so you kind of got it all figured out now. So you want to talk about what you're going to do for, during hurricane season or whatever? Or do you even know?
Well, I'm kind of a fly by the seat of my pants sort of person, so, I mean... I've applied for an extension to stay longer in the U.S. I still don't have any word as to whether I'm going to get that. So if I don't get the extension, I will have to leave, and I'll probably be going back to Canada and doing the van life thing again, and doing
I think
that
some of your van life videos you said got like over 1 million views.
Yeah, they that's a very big thing right now that I think a lot of people is a very attractive to a lot of different people, especially that I think, because of the virus, a lot of people have transitioned into working more remotely.
Right.
And so that van life thing, whereas, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, they wouldn't have been able to do it. They were always dreaming. Now I think a lot of people are actually doing it.
Well, and I think you're kind of seeing a different attitude from the millennials and stuff. Like, so the YouTube for the audiences for the sailing channels, right? It's generally, it's the guys that are dreaming about going sailing. So, like 75% of the Sailing Doodles viewers, and I'm sure yours is probably a little skewed differently, but it's probably started out as mostly Sailing Doodles viewers. Yeah. And so it was like 75% are 45 and over, whereas like average YouTube watchers, like 80% 45 and younger, right? And so there's a different demographic there. And so maybe, the van lifers is something the millennials kind of look for, Plus then there's the whole kind of movement with the millennials going on. It's like the FIRE, what do they call it? I was watching a video on earlier today. It's like financial independence, retire early. So they're like downsizing. Even if they make $50,000 a year, they're living on $25,000 and like saving the rest so they can retire when they're like 35.
Well, and that age group too is more focused on the experiences in life. They're not like necessarily focused on what society is telling them is right, is work hard for however many years,
keeping
and then
up with
retire.
The Joneses.
Yeah. And so I think that's transitioned on a massive scale between that age group, that they're like, why would I want to do something that I'm not enjoying for half of my life? I want to do what I want to enjoy now.
Well, and like, a lot of them, like I know, like a lot of my cousins and stuff, they're not buying cars, right? They're not buying houses. They're living in the city and they're taking, Ubers or whatever. And then, they're not buying a house, so they're renting a cheap place. And so, they're not spending as much as they used to. And I think that's kind of an issue, like going forward with the financial stuff, is like car manufacturers and all that are like,
what's going on with that?
Yeah. So.
And like whether it's I'll just blanket it all into alternative living, whether it's van life or boat life or RV life or whatever, the traveling lifestyle. A lot of people think that it's like so unattainable, but when you do make those certain sacrifices of, say, okay, my biggest thing that I say is alleviating your rent. That if you can pocket that money, then it's totally doable to live that more alternative lifestyle.
What? Go ahead, sorry.
It just involves like different sacrifices. So people who think that, I'd never be able to do that, with the job that I have, etc., there's always a way you can make it work.
Well, yeah. I think, say a lot of people that dream about doing this lifestyle and stuff like that. You can, maybe instead of, you got a $500 a month car payment and then you got $1,500 a month rent or whatever. Well, if you were to buy a $40,000 boat, replace your car payment with that, right? And so then you pay it off in 5 years or whatever while you live on it. So you're not, that $1,500 rent, at least you're living on the boat, fixing it up and all that.
And it's going towards something that you actually own.
Right.
So like I bought my camper van when I was 18. And a lot of people my age were paying $1,500 for rent, going to school, etc. And so then, then I was able to travel out west, and I lived in the mountains and stuff. And then that allowed me to travel while having a home base and not paying rent. Like that money that I spent on my van, then I outright owned it.
Yeah, and I think that was an issue. That's been so I hate to quote Fight Club, but the things you own end up owning you, right? So you got a mortgage payment, you got a car payment, all that. And I'm not saying those things are bad. I'm just saying but like that, and you got credit card debt and all that. Finding people like to come crew on this can sometimes be hard because it's like, oh, I'd love to do that, but I got a car payment. They have all these bills they can't just leave. They have to stay there, and so it's like you kind of get stuck in this debt trap in the United States where it's like they give you a $200,000 student loan when you're 18 and have no idea. And then I remember I was in college. I never got one, but they were giving credit cards to like freshmen in college where have no idea what, like, oh, free money? Sure. I don't have to pay it back for like 5 years. Great. And then they graduate college and they're over $100,000 in debt.
Exactly.
And then, they're never going to pay that off.
And I think that is the big thing that has allowed me to travel so much and live kind of more of a freedom-based lifestyle at such a young age was that I didn't go to school and didn't have that debt. I was like getting out of high school or whatever. I was terrified of having debt. I didn't want to start my life out $100,000 in debt to go to school. And I personally, I'm not saying that this is for everybody, but I personally didn't have that one thing that I knew that I really wanted to do for college or university. And so I think that was a kind of a blessing in disguise. But it was very frowned upon between teachers and even other parents.
Yeah.
Were looking at my family going, oh, you're not making her go to college?
Right.
What are you doing? And now that ended up working in my favor,
Sure.
Well,
I mean, I don't foresee it happening anytime soon, but I think, in my opinion, kind of the solution to all this education issues, like trying to, with all the student debt and all that, and just the bloated budgets of these colleges. I mean, like I was watching a show the other day, the average tuition in 1990 was like $3,800 adjusted for inflation. Now it's over $10,000.
And the thing about that too is that the value of that degree or whatever you're getting doesn't even have the same leverage anymore as it did back then.
Well, yeah, and so I think the way I would like to see the solutions go is like, okay, it is nice having that general knowledge of a bachelor's degree. You get all this stuff, but realistically, what are you going to do with it? Do you want to be a journalist? Okay, then take a 6-month course on how to be a journalist and only study journalism stuff. And okay, you might need some literature stuff too if your grammar wasn't very good in high school or whatever. But, learn all that stuff. Or if you want to create video games, okay, you can take a year-long course or 6-month instead of having to waste all this stuff on philosophy and all that.
And that's exactly it. And so that was why, like, back then, it was, first of all, less money, and having that sort of degree really set you apart. It made you special. If to a employer, they would, notice that and pick you over anybody else because that was distinguishable. But now, because of the internet age, you can learn anything you want to learn online. If you are a self-motivator and you have the desire, you could, if you wanted to make video games and program that, you could learn how to do that online. You wouldn't need to. And so now employers, I think, are looking more at that experience, right? Like they would almost take, if you've got 5 years of experience programming successful video games versus somebody who went to school for it but is just starting out and doesn't really have the practical experience, they might now choose somebody with the life experience on that. Yeah,
I think it is changing. I mean, as like my generation becomes more like the CEOs of companies and stuff like that, I think you will see that mind shift. But like my former company, I was the head of the flight department, and so we needed to hire a new pilot, and so through whatever, I got a resume from a guy. I interviewed him. I really liked him. He had a ton of experience in the airplanes we already flew and everything, but he never finished college, right? And so I didn't have a problem with that. I'm like, okay, you're a nice guy, you're smart, you can handle the airplane, you're good, experienced. And then so we go interview with my boss. And I thought the interview went pretty well, whatever. And then so after the guy leaves, I'm kind of debriefing with my boss. And my boss is like, yeah, but he never finished college. And I'm like, well, okay, so why is that an issue? And he said, well, it shows he can finish something. I'm like, well, it shows he didn't have enough money. You know what I mean? It's one thing.
It does go both ways with that, for sure.
There is, but it's also, it's easy to say, so like my boss, he was kind of had a wealthy family, right? So it wasn't an issue for him. You know what I mean? It shows you can finish something, but not everybody starts off in the same circumstances. Exactly,
and there's a lot of circumstances that go into that.
Yeah.
That are contributing factors to that.
Yeah, and it was hard work is definitely something that will get you far, but so is luck. You know what I mean? If you're born into that wealthy family, you already have a leg up.
Exactly. And that's like the one thing that always gets me when people like assume that I'm from like some wealthy family or like it's my parents' money that, I got the boat. It's like, no, I've worked for everything that I've gotten and made that happen myself. It's not that And so that's where it's like some people do start ahead and some people don't, but you can still make it work.
Sure. Oh yeah. I mean, it's absolutely. I mean, it's about what you put in, you get out. You know what I mean? The hard work. So anyway, so what is the van life? What are you going to do? What do you have? What kind of van is it? So
it's a 1989 Road Trek. It's a Dodge. And I just love that.
It's older than you are by 10 years.
So all of like my motorcycle, my camper van, and both of my sailboats are all in that year range, because I just think things were made better back then, personally.
Well, you have an affinity for older things.
Oh gosh, come on now. So anyways, yeah, the camper van, it's very similar to boat life in many ways, I think. And my plans if I do go back to Canada would be to take it out west to the mountains, because Ontario's beautiful in Canada. The fact that we have the Great Lakes is amazing, but as far as like the van life thing, it was a lot more fun out west.
Yeah, what is it? Just there's more stuff to do or something, or what?
Yeah, and like more, it's a little more wild and definitely more opportunity for experiences and adventures.
Well, yeah, I was going to, okay, so it's less populated, right? So there's more places to go explore and kind of boondock or whatever, right?
So like in Ontario, it's especially southern Ontario is the most densely populated part of all of Canada.
How many people live in Canada?
Oh, couldn't tell you that off the top of my head.
All right.
And
they're saying it right now in the comments.
Yeah, exactly. Please tell me, educate me.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if I wanted to go this is just me personally, I like to go for the adventures that I'm getting away from people and I'm going into nature or whatever. And so in southern Ontario, it's so populated that you have to drive for an hour and a half to get to that, adventure spot.
Right.
Whereas out west, you drive 15 minutes and you're away from everybody and in a beautiful location.
So speaking of comments, like I know they can be difficult at times. Like, how have you handled that? Because, like, I basically had to stop reading comments. I mean, I'll read the patrons' comments and stuff like that. Like, if I always post a video, I just released a video to patrons this morning, right? So they get it at least a day ahead of everybody else. And then, so I'll read all those comments for the first day, and then the comments on Patreon and stuff like that.
I'll
reply.
Those are valuable opinions. Right. Like, the thing with Patreon is that they're actually giving you the valuable feedback, and their opinions you'll take, with sure. a little more weight, because they're actually contributing to your future, and then you can take their opinions to be like, okay, this is how maybe I can do better. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, they're all supportive.
Sure. And so then, but like once it goes live, 95% of the comments will be positive, and they'll be like, hey, that's awesome, whatever, blah blah blah. But it's that 5% that you read, and you're like, that sticks with you. You know what I mean?
I think that's just human nature. Like, you can't just. So even when I was sailing with Bobby, he was like, don't read the comments. And so I got out of that. And now with my own channel, because it's literally my job to go through that, I can't possibly read all the comments. I don't. Like 600 comments on a video.
Yeah.
I can't filter through all of that. But like you said, it's just like human nature that those ones that piss you off or, kind of upset you do stick in your brain. And so I feel like I've handled it pretty well. I definitely, like, there's some that I want to, like, snap back at them, but I've had to restrain myself a little bit. Well,
it's like, when it's the anonymity of the internet, right? I mean, like, nobody would ever say that stuff in person, mm-hmm. right? And it's just like, okay, if you wouldn't say it in person, just don't say it, I mean, and I'll even post stuff on Instagram or Facebook, and then people will reply to that like, well, look at Bobby, he's doing whatever, something like that. And I'm like, no, I actually posted that. Like, that's not like a third party. That you can reply to me, not just in third person. You know what I mean? It's like they don't realize that. Yes, if you're watching a TV show on network, okay, then that's it's highly produced and all that. No, this is us doing it.
And so the unique thing that I think in particular that kind of feeds trolls on YouTube is, like, as opposed to Facebook or Instagram, is that you, like, on YouTube, you can't, like, go and click onto the person's profile and see what their life is. Like, so on Facebook, if somebody trolls you on Facebook, you can go to their profile, see who they are, see their wife and kids, see what they post, and you could equally make fun of them or whatever, But on YouTube, it's that added level of getting to hide behind a computer screen because I couldn't even go and look at their profile then. And, you know, so that's especially where the trolls just like to come out because they know that they can hide behind that totally.
I remember, I think it was either Facebook or Instagram. This is a while back, but I still remember this one woman posted, I think it was on either Instagram or whatever. She's like, all you show are girls in bikinis or something. And I'm like, and so then I go look at her profile and she's in a bikini in half her pictures. And I'm like,
exactly.
What
exactly.
What are you doing? You know, but it's just.
I know. And again, that added thing that makes the YouTube thing like another unique issue with that is that, like you were saying, so celebrities like Angelina Jolie or Brad Pitt or whatever, those people, you know, people can be fans of them or hate on them, but people can't directly access those people. They can't tell, you can't comment on Brad Pitt or text Brad Pitt and be like, you know, I think this of you. Whereas the YouTube thing, people have a lot more of a direct line of communication to the artist or the creator themselves, which again almost feeds the trolls. And because they're like, oh, I know he's going to read this, or, you know, it's that mentality that they actually are getting to you. Whereas with higher level celebrities, that would never be able to happen.
Well,
like,
but I mean, Brad Pitt, you know, gets tabloid stuff.
Yeah, you
about
get the
him.
magazine.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't tell me they're not at least somewhat aware of that.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, like, somebody's going to be like, hey, have you seen your National Enquirer? It says you got Angelina Jolie pregnant with something. I don't know.
Yeah. So, and that's where, like, the YouTube thing is a very unique kind of enigma of the social media world.
Well, you're an F-list celebrity. That's what I call it. So have you been, I think you said you have. You've been recognized several times? Yeah,
like when I was sailing with you, it definitely happened a lot more with you. And I think the sailing world makes a small world smaller. Yeah. So you're going into a marina where it's all concentrated people who watch, you know, the boating videos. And so you got recognized almost every single place you went. But you were really good with it. And so that was kind of good for me to see, you know, with you, how you handled that. And people are almost always super nice, super nice. If they're willing to come up to you in person, they're always positive. And so I haven't had it very much, but I think I had it the other day at like the hardware store or something.
Oh, really?
I got recognized. And so it's like a new thing for me to be recognized just on my own. So it's a little odd. And especially being kind of like a single woman, that like for you being a man is a bit different because you have a lot of the guys who are fans of you. And so when they come up to you, it's like, hey, bro, sort of thing. Whereas for me, having, you know, like men that I don't know or whatever coming up to me, like, and I think I don't want to go into too much detail, but I had a guy dinghy up to my boat.
Oh yeah,
and that made me extremely uncomfortable. And so being, I think, a single woman poses a unique challenge with that. And again, with like the come sail with me thing, I would love to be able to bring patrons or you know, viewers on board to come sail with me as kind of a perk. But then again, there's that like safety and security issue that maybe you wouldn't face as much being kind of a dude who, you know, has multiple crew members on or whatever. Kind of a dude. Okay. Kind of.
Thanks. Kind of a dude. Oh, I appreciate that. Awesome.
And so I don't know, it like as much as I really wish that I could invite people to come sailing with me, I just, you know, how do you filter through the creeps and not creeps? And, you know, because the internet is a big world.
It is.
And especially for, you know, a young single woman, it's, you know, can be.
How was it? I mean, single-handing going down the ICW.
Yeah. So single-handed sailing. That first one that I did was really enjoyable. I felt a huge sense of accomplishment. And as much as I wouldn't say it's as much fun. Like, obviously having people around to share the memories with is a lot more fun. But it's one of those personal things that, you know, feelings that you can only get by doing something yourself. Right. You know? There was a few moments that got a little hairy and things happen and things go wrong. But ultimately I think that really made me step up to the plate. You know, as the captain of my own boat, and it ultimately kind of gave me a bit more confidence in being like, okay, so something did happen. It was scary. It was bad, but I handled it. And it's being able to have that confidence in yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I mean, it's like, you can be crew in somebody else's boat, but so you never really have that responsibility. So it's just honestly, I mean, it is kind of nice being crew in somebody else's boat because I can just kick back and be like, all right, yeah, okay, I'll do that. Sure, let's do it. But when you're actually the captain on the boat, you have to be responsible. You have to be thinking about it all the time. And we're underway. So we're doing an overnighter or whatever. The crew, it's just like, okay, I'm on for watch, but then they can go to bed and not even think about it, right? Whereas like if it's I'm off watch, I'm laying.
Captain never shuts off.
Yeah, I'm laying in bed going, what was that noise? What was that? It's like, was that normal? Was that or something? So it's like you always have to be.
And that was like was the big learning thing for me this season, like as opposed to being crew with you. I mean, obviously we worked really well together, but it was still, I never had that same level of responsibility because you were the one doing that. And so having it be me and especially, okay, so I had crew with my mom and that made a big difference and help. But when things go wrong when you're by yourself, like, say the autopilot stops working and then something happens downstairs, like in the engine compartment that you need to work on. So I can't have somebody steering the boat and I can't go work on it. So it's like that, being single-handed does pose its own challenges for sure. And when things go wrong, when you're solo, it's worse.
Yeah. With my debacle back in November, I don't know that, having crew on there would have made a difference with the type of failure I had. Yeah. It just would have been a little easier maybe
to handle. And so like that's why a lot of people are like, why would you go solo or this blah blah blah. The fact that you were solo had absolutely nothing to do with what happened.
Right.
Really.
But if it had been, okay, say if the autopilot had stopped working during that time too, then I would have been screwed. Yeah. It's just kind of those things that there's being single-handed, you can do it just fine as long as, maybe you can handle one or two failures, okay, but if there's multiple cascading failures, then that's where it becomes an issue.
Yeah, overwhelming and not possible.
Because, if I had to hand steer and deal with all the other crap, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah, and so when I got the boat, I didn't have, an exact plan for crew, but, at the time, I was like, well, I've got a lot of friends who would love to be able to come for a week or two and join me. And so I never really thought it wasn't like my intention was to single hand. It just kind of happened. And it was a good experience for me. But ideally, I did want to have crew. And, a lot of my friends being Canadian, with some of the restrictions that are in place now, it's just not possible for them to take off for 2 weeks and then come back and have to do a 2-week quarantine, in a hotel or whatever. And so that was a little tough this season. I assumed I would be able to have the help from my friends and it would be a lot of fun. And so the fact that I couldn't easily have them come forced me to single hand and made it not that fun party yacht life that everyone thinks it is.
Well, plus you weren't, you were just going down the ICW. It's not real glamorous. It was cold too, I'm sure.
And I was going down the ICW because I was solo. I didn't want to be doing offshore stuff solo,
Yeah, I guess you could have got, you could have gotten down like to Florida a lot faster. Because when we did it, we left
in a month, less than a month. We did it
from Annapolis all the way down,
all to Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, but we did 2 or 3 42, but 24 to 48 hour jumps.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was the thing. I thought that I would be able to make it down to Florida a lot quicker.
That fly has been attacking me all day. I'm telling you. I was eating breakfast earlier, and he just would not leave me alone. Now he's got your back. Scent. He's gonna mess with you. I'm telling you.
I would have been able to make it to Florida a lot quicker had I had the crew, because I would have been able to do those 24, 48 hour hops. But, being solo, that slowed me down a lot and forced me to take the ICW. Yeah.
And it kind of, so you had basically 3 months of kind of not fun sailing and all that. So, you got the bad side. You got the bad side of the experience. You're not down here in this beautiful water. So.
Yeah. So I feel like this first season I got a lot of the realities and the negatives of boat ownership that every boat owner knows. Stuff always goes wrong. There's always something. And so, I knew that. I knew that even just from sailing with you, that it was not going to be sunshine and rainbows. I didn't have unrealistic expectations of what it was going to be like. But the first season, this of my own boat has been a lot of the negatives and not as many of the positives. Like usually the positives outweigh the negatives, where you sit down at anchor and there's a beautiful sunset and you have a drink or you go for a swim and it's like, okay, that just made up for all of the bad stuff that I just went through.
Yesterday.
Right? Yeah.
Basically, that's what we did yesterday.
Exactly. And so I haven't like had that. I haven't gotten to go swimming off my boat in beautiful blue water or go, like I haven't had as many of those positives to make up for all the negatives that have happened. Mm-hmm. But I know that I'm setting myself up for a good season next season. And I think that next season's going to be a really good time.
So where are you planning to go next season?
I think going back to that original plan of Mexico, Belize, and Guatemala, basically.
Sorry, that flies. Yeah. Okay, sorry. If you're listening to this, there's a fly attacking us, and it's rather annoying.
Can I get him?
You missed him. Okay, don't clap right in front of the microphone. That's great. Anyway, sorry. So, okay, I'm sorry. You were saying down to the Keys and then Mexico, or what did you say? You're having a... yeah, okay, whatever.
Just ignore it.
Just ignore the fly. We're ignoring the fly. Okay. All right, well, that sounds like a good one to me. Mm-hmm. Hey, during hurricane season, or the rest of the season while your boat's on the harbor, you can come down here and crew for me.
Yeah, I'd love to.
All right.
I love to help, whenever I can.
Okay.
And there's a couple other people that I might crew for, and obviously the van life thing is going to happen.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And, but whenever I've got a free week or two, I'd definitely come down.
Okay. What was that? I think we're hitting the mooring ball. Yeah. So we're at anchor right now off of Culebra. We're in a mooring ball.
Yeah.
And so the mooring ball was hitting the hole, we think. So
this is a beautiful spot here. Like we jumped off the boat and went for a swim yesterday.
Yeah, we need to do that. You said there was so we've got Sydney with us. She was going to crew for you, and then
so that was pretty funny. So I had arranged to have Sid come and crew for me. She's an awesome, hardworking, smart girl. And then, things kind of went wrong with my boat, and it was like, well, you can't.
Right.
So then we both came and joined Bobby.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, it's
win-win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm really proud of you for everything you've done, and you are an amazing young woman. And so give Taylor's Travels a follow on YouTube, and Instagram is the same and all that. So, and appreciate you guys for tuning in to another Sailing Doodles podcast. Please subscribe, follow. It's available on audio format wherever you get your audio podcasts, and of course on YouTube.